Forklift. Moving pallets, pick them up, put them down. Do you need something moved? Not that far, raise it up.
Gunge in our fuel system again? Well, our Ferrari 308 suffered from it, so why not our forklift truck? So today I'm going to be investigating that sticky problem and also using fire to put our pistons in place and transforming our crankshaft.
Back it up.
Yes, today we're back here at Classic and Modern in Bracknell to grind our forklift truck's crankshaft. It's hopefully the last bit of machining work required before we can start the reassembly process. So far, our quick refurbishment has expanded somewhat as we have now bored out the block, pressed in new liners, honed the bores to perfection and refaced the block ready for the refurbished head. The head is now also good as new as the valves have been cleaned and recut, the valve seats have been machined, new valve stem oil seals have been fitted, and once reassembled, all the valves sealed perfectly.
Beautiful.
Very satisfying. So having come this far, it seemed wrong not to go the whole hog and regrind our worn and scored crankshaft bearing surfaces. So let's crack on and find Grant, whose daily grind is grinding every day. So Grant, how bad is this?
When I measured it the other day, I think it's about 1.5 hours down when I set the front main.
Wow.
Where?
So that's literally just worn away?
Yeah, just you can put your finger on it, you can feel it.
Yeah.
You know.
And is that all of them?
Yeah, and that one there, no, you put that gets worse.
Oh wow.
You can feel it.
Oh my word.
Where a load of old dirt's been going round it and
just literally just grinding itself
just
down.
grinding away.
Yeah.
I've done some the other day, and it was 10 thou one way to the other. Because it went
It's just crunching and crunching.
Yeah,
So I guess obviously what this machine is going to do is it's going to cut into that, or literally grind into that surface.
Yeah.
But then bring it down so they're all correct and all the same
correct,
size.
all round and everything like that.
Yeah.
And the tape.
And then we'll just fit is it undersized or oversized?
No, well, they're undersized.
Is it undersized?
People think it's oversized, but it isn't. It's undersized.
Because the other, if you did the block, then it would be oversized.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Right, gotcha. Oh, awesome. Well, carry on. Sorry, I won't stop you.
There's 3 Allen keys round it to
Oh, I see. Yes.
get it.
So almost actually the opposite, like the parallel to this.
Yeah.
So it's just literally the same thing.
As you see, really down to about 1.5 hours now. That's within 1/4 of a foul.
So it's so that's pretty small. Yeah.
So what I do, I can check that to that within half a foul.
Cool.
On that. Now come up.
Oh, and of course, yes, because both ends could be eccentric. And that little red tip on there's a bit of ruby, isn't it?
That's ruby, yeah. So
because that's just because it's really hard.
Yeah.
And harder than the metal, presumably.
Yeah. There you go.
Look at that. That's not even a quarter, is it?
It's about 1/4 of a foul.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'll go on there, just check that. But sometimes when they get, you can see how
that's
much.
really oval, isn't it?
Yeah, that's oval. And I always check on the centre, see if it's bent. You know, it was within half a foul.
Yes.
Because sometimes when you knock an end out, it actually bends the crank. I've had them 40 thou, 60 thou bent.
So what do you do at that point? I mean, can you actually physically straighten it back again?
I have straightened them in the past, but sometimes you can't straighten them because sometimes you straighten them and you break them.
Yes, because I guess most cranks are cast.
Yeah.
So they're quite brittle. Whereas I guess that's why you have a forged crank in a racing car, for example, because obviously
it's made out of a solid bit of steel.
Yeah, just being beaten into shape rather than poured into shape.
Yeah.
I guess. Okay. Oh, awesome. Now, talking of forgery, people have been known to forge the history of their vehicle or the paperwork in order to try and get a bit of extra profit when it comes to selling a car. And thankfully, you can actually protect yourself against that by getting a report from Car Vertical. I've got one here, you can see actually from a Jaguar XJ. Straight away, once you've actually got the report, you open it up, you get a nice little summary. And in the summary, I can see here that the odometer needs attention. Thankfully, the financial and legal status are okay, the damage is all right, and you've got 4 owners in the history so far. So scrolling down, you can see a whole load of pictures here, and you can see that the Jaguar is in nice sort of racing green looking thing with a white interior. It looks very tidy, so could be a bit of a bargain. But you scroll further down, you can see there's no issues when it comes to being stolen or not, which is great. But actually when it comes to the odometer, basically the mileage is fake. Somebody's actually forged that mileage, and you can scroll down further, you can see a nice little graph there, and you can see that it got to about 50,000 miles in a kind of pretty normal pattern, but then suddenly a year later actually it's only done nearly 7,000 miles. So clearly if you bought this car without doing your car vertical check, you could end up having a car that's done way more miles than you actually think, and therefore you'd be paying way over the odds. Now if you go further through the report, you can see that there's been no damage recorded in the past. And also, it gives you a nice little market value at the end as well. So before you buy the car, you've done the check, then of course you end up knowing what kind of money you should be paying for it. Now, if you'd like to save yourself 20%, you can do so by using the code ED20 or clicking on the link in the description. Now, because we don't actually know any history of our forklift truck, that is obviously why I'm having to rebuild the engine from scratch just to get some kind of datum. But when we did the last episode, when we were actually doing the head, getting all the work on that, we noticed that the valves had this kind of strange, sort of almost rubbery, kind of gooey kind of consistency of this kind of weird black stuff on the back of the valve. So it wasn't soot, it was kind of something more gummy than that. Now, a lot of you commented on the fact that it might be the fact that on some LPG vehicles, you actually have a kind of a dual fuel. So you actually have a petrol and also then it's flicked over to LPG. And of course, therefore, there could have been some contaminants in the tank. And of course, those contaminants could then wender their way into the head and got stuck on the back of the valves. Now, as it happens, like many modern LPG vehicles, this is designed to run on only that. So unfortunately, the contamination won't come from that. It could potentially come from a bad batch of gas. After all, it is made from some kind of hydrocarbon fuel. So you never know, there's something could be in there. But obviously the thing that's actually going to distribute that fuel into the engine are these little devices here. Now, LPG stands for liquefied petroleum gas, and it comes in these kind of canisters here. Now you can hear there's something rattling around in there, but it's not liquid. But mainly because it's empty, you can see there is a little arrow at the bottom here. Now that's supposed to be pointing downwards, because that way then all the liquid is up to about here, and then there's a pickup all the way down the bottom there, and that's obviously picking up liquid rather than the gas that would be at the top. So your liquid fuel goes from your bottle all the way through this hose down into here, into this device here. Now this is a filter, and it's also kind of like a locking, like a valve almost, like a fuel lock valve. So essentially the idea is that it actually doesn't allow any fuel to get to the engine if the engine isn't actually on and running. And I guess that's probably just a little vacuum hose that actually kind of operate that little diaphragm valve. And then once the gas is actually flowing, or the liquid is flowing, it goes through here into this little chap here. Now you can see there's actually 2 little connectors, and that's actually for water, not for cooling, but actually for warming up. Because just like with an airline or an aerosol, if you're trying to expand liquid into gas, it actually kind of needs heat. It takes heat from the universe to do so. And so what we need to do is use kind of warm water, if you like, from the running engine to actually try and warm that up, which is why forklift trucks often don't start so easily on a really, really cold day, because they're icing up before they've even had a chance to get warm. So a top little trick is actually to pour some warm water over it, actually to kind of warm it up and kind of get it going. Obviously, it should actually be working. Now, inside here is also a diaphragm and some other weirdness that actually helps the gas sort of expand and warm up. And of course, then once you've got this gas rather than the liquid, it then goes into the engine and can be burnt just like any other normal fuel. So, if we had this issue in our valves as caused by some kind of contaminant, chances are the contaminant might still be in this system here. So if I don't check this now, I could put our perfectly new engine and just flood it full of horrible stuff from whatever's still stuck in that system. Right then, so we've now got our little unit here in a vise, just to make it a little bit easier to handle. Get this out of the way for now. Obviously I'm going to need to straighten this, so I'll do that later. Let's have a closer look. So, as we know, the fuel comes in liquid form from here, goes into this part here, and then there's a little vacuum hose there. So when the engine's running, there'll be a vacuum in the manifold. That's actually going to suck that kind of diaphragm open. That's going to allow the gas to pass through into this pit. It's going to go around this little coil here into here. And in fact, it even says on the back there, LPG in. Good to know. And then, of course, again, we've got probably a better view of our water manifold here. So, of course, that's going to be warming up our liquid, turning it into vapor, and then that vapor then exits through here, which looks like a water hose. Actually, it's not. And then that goes into the top of our sort of carburettor, and then that goes into the engine and burns. So I think what I want to do is have a look. There's a number of screws around here. Let's take off these just to see what's going on inside and see if there is any signs of any contamination. Right then, so we've obviously got some T25 torque screws here. They have been here a long time, so oh, they're really sort of chewy and a little bit unpleasant, a little bit scary. I could probably cheat a little bit. Oh, that's interesting. I guess because we know we're going to go to our undersized bearings, you now know what spec we have to go to.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it would be different for the conrods and the actual main bearings, won't it? Obviously, different sizes.
sizes,
But do you set up for one and then do them all at the same time?
I set up for what I do. Set up for one on here.
Yep.
And then I do a test cut of like 5 to 8 thou.
Yeah.
Come off, see what I've got.
Okay.
Then once I'll get that one sorted, I'll do that one.
Cool. And then this is a grinder more than a cutter.
Is
that
a grinder,
right? So,
yeah.
so is that just because the crankshafts are harder, or is it just because it gives you a kind of a better finish?
A better finish,
right,
yeah. You couldn't do that with a tool.
No. Okay.
Or else you'll end up with a plough field.
Okay, we don't want that. We've got that now, actually, so we don't want a plough field now. Okay, fantastic. Well, carry on. What's the next bit? Okay, so now you've done some calculations, is that right?
Yes, I have.
So what's really mad about this machine? Obviously, when you're grinding the conrod bearings, the whole thing's rotating around at the same time. So this is having to rock backwards and forwards to keep at the same distance.
Correct.
Okay, so and that's what the maths you just had to do to dial it in, so that it knows what diameter that is.
Yeah, so I had to put it up and set up to get to the near to the pin.
Right.
Then I feed in until it starts cutting.
Okay, and does it ride? So does that finger sort of ride on there,
yes.
or does it? Okay, so it's not doing some clever kind of concentric
no.
inside.
It automatically finds its own counterbalance.
Okay, fine.
So under the machine there is a dirty great lump of iron.
Right, it's that sophisticated.
Yeah, it's as easy as that. You just sit down there until these two marks are level.
Yeah, and then it's happy.
And it's happy, and it does itself.
Yeah, so actually you're not putting any real load on that at all.
No,
it's just literally following.
Yeah.
Cool, okay. Carry on. This is great.
Okay, ready?
I think so. Wow. So that dial is adjusting.
It's bringing the fingers in together.
Yeah, okay. And we're just waiting for just to make
listening, yeah. Now you can see some sparks.
Oh, you see a couple of sparks. Wow, that's amazing. How long do the wheels last? I mean, can you do hundreds and hundreds of cranks?
Usually about 3-4 months. All depends how many cranks I grind.
Okay. So basically, so you found that surface, and once you found the surface, you've then gone down it or in a little bit just to check the cut, just to make sure you're happy.
Yeah. So now I've taken 6 thou off it.
And what are we actually looking for as a total in the end?
For about 64, 65.
Okay, that's actually quite a lot then.
So 66, So I want 62, so I've got another 4 fail to come up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, makes it to 62. I've got up 62.
Okay.
Now I've got a reference here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That keeps me, I know if
Yes.
I walk away from the machine,
Yes,
I
you
can
come
come
back,
back.
you know where you're at.
I know where I have, just in case someone's fiddled with that, you never know.
That's clever.
Now I'm slowing it down, the last 2 fail. Two, 5.
Once you've kind of got a setting, do you then keep that for the next, well, you literally do
unless,
everyone.
or else you get to compensate for wear
Yeah.
on the flipping thing, then you have to sort it out. At the moment, I've got another about 3/4 of a fail to come off of that.
Okay. So 3/4 of a thousandth of an inch is quite precise, frankly.
This machine is a bit worn.
Yeah.
You put it back if you found it, and it will take that 3/4 of a fail off.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, it's almost like a spring cut.
Yeah,
Because yes, there's a little bit of lash
Yeah.
in all of the parts.
Yeah.
What age is this machine?
1970.
Okay, well, I would argue that that's a fantastic year, nearly.
Yeah,
It's-
well, that's when you were born, mate.
well, just quite close. So it is a Gen X machine, and it must have seen a lot of crankshafts in its time. So it's fair enough that it's a little bit worn,
Yeah.
and that does look, as one would hope, markedly better, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So the micrometer again, you're just on each sort of bearing surface, you're just checking that.
Yeah, I'm just checking for taper
Yeah,
and everything like that, and it's fine.
that's all good.
Now I've got to come to the mains now.
Awesome.
Now I've got to use a comparator.
Okay. So is this instead of using the micrometer, or?
No. It's exactly like, it's the same as that clock,
Okay.
but this is more accurate on here,
Yeah.
and you can know taking off here because you can't guarantee on that bearings.
Oh, and it stays on when it's going around.
Oh, yeah,
Doesn't
it stays on there.
Yeah. Okay.
The only thing you have to watch out sometimes, it flicks itself off, and you end up knocking, well, like me, knocking a tooth out.
Oh my word. So yeah, of course, yeah. So now because we're on the actual main bearing surfaces, because they're concentric
Yeah.
with the chucks.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't have to have the follower because
No.
it's no longer going to go
That's
around.
correct,
I
yeah.
understand. Okay. Yeah.
So we set that up about 7 fail under to take off.
And now you're going a little faster on this cut.
Yes, because from that speed there,
Yeah.
if you put the finger on that speed, it'll come off.
Right. I understand.
Right. Well, you can.
And they're getting more
you can-
teeth.
yeah, that's right. You can hear it.
Yeah. So it's actually oval.
Yeah, it's oval. Let's just check it, guys. 2.234 and a half. 35, so I've got to take another about half a foul off.
Is the comparator magnetic or is it just sprung so you can
It's
just get
just
over
sprung.
centre?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's automatically sprung.
Yeah.
As I said, sometimes you've got to watch it when you're running over a hose. I've got to
Yeah.
come up, and as I said, I've already lost one tooth. There you go, 2.234 and a half.
Lovely. And how consistent are you? I mean, what sort of tolerance are you going for in between each of them? And obviously, you
I
want
will
to go
try to
close.
keep them all the same.
Right. Okay. Why not? That's just showing off.
That's why
Sure.
that comparator's there.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Because the machine, now I've got that set as sort of 16 and a half.
Yeah.
When I get down to that one, that'll probably be 22 or 24.
Oh wow.
Because it's the wear on,
Yeah, it's all
wear on the
moving
bear on the machine.
So now, Grant, you're now going to be polishing these surfaces. So you've got, that's basically wet and dry, but something a bit more sporty?
400 grit.
Okay. And a little bit of sort of lubrication of some kind?
Yeah, oil and paraffin.
Okay. It's quite an interesting machine, that one.
Right, now I've done the mains, now I'll do the big ends.
So it doesn't take much. I mean, and what this is doing is just...
It's just polishing.
Yeah.
Because if you looked under a microscope and looked at the journals, you see it would look like a saw teeth.
Oh yeah, okay. And then you're just knocking the tops off.
So
really.
basically, because this is going round clockwise,
yeah,
you're putting it so it won't damage the
that's
bearings.
Interesting. So you're actually doing it in the right, or the way the engine's going to be moving.
Yeah, the rotation of things.
Oh, that's interesting. So what do I need to do when it comes to actually reassembling then? Is there, what would you recommend as an assembly kind of oil or something to put in? You know, is there something you would use specially? Just
yes, there's I don't know if we got it's a special paste.
Cool.
We do polish the thrust now.
Lovely. Look at that. Now I need to make this sure that it doesn't go rusty before I put it together.
Yeah.
Well, that is really exciting. I mean, you can really tell the difference. Obviously, before we had a lot of scoring, little bits of grooves and stuff, and you kind of think, well, maybe it's okay, but actually, once it's actually been reground, you can see it's a world of difference. And of course, this is going to mean, hopefully, our forklift truck engine is going to last a very, very long time, which is great, as long as I don't put any sand in the oil. But now the next thing we need to do is sort out the pistons, because we've got to get the old pistons off, put the new pistons on. Hang on a minute, what about the gunge and the fuel valve and filter? Oh. So there's all kinds of stuff. It looks like metal. It's rust, I guess. I don't know, maybe from the tank. But that there is a little filter pad. So we need to change that anyway. And that's obviously the whole job of that filter, is to stop all this stuff going through. What's interesting is it's not kind of all gooey and gunged up, but it is quite rusty. So still no idea what the stuff is that we saw in the back of the valves. But maybe, of course, that happened before this was changed, replaced, who knows. So hopefully I can get that out now. So then you can see then if I take that out there, that's the filter. Oh, it does stink of gas, that's what you said. And then we've got then, I guess it's like a little gauze just to stop the filter getting sucked into the engine bay. So that's interesting. So there's no sign of the goopy stuff, but we definitely need to change that. Now while we're here, let's have a little look. Just take that gauze out. I don't think, there you go, that little shield out the way. You can see there is this sort of spring and it's pushing on the little valve. So I reckon if I just I've got a little vacuum tool here, so I just pop that on the end like so. And if I pull up a vacuum, oh, look at that. So basically, once the engine's running, we've got a little bit of vacuum. You can see there's a little bit just there. And if you saw that little valve comes out, and then you can see that's obviously holding it back in. So if I now go the other way, and then, of course, we've used up the vacuum, you can see that that valve now shuts, and that's stopping the LPG getting to our vaporizer. So it's actually such a simple thing, but really rather clever. You can see on the back here, there is like a little diaphragm, and on that side there's a warning sign. So I'm inclined to take apart the bit which has the warning sign on, because clearly that's what they don't want you to do. So let's go there. Right then, hopefully all these screws are just going to undo nicely. I'm not really sure what I'm actually going to find in here. There should be a diaphragm, and then hopefully some of these parts will be sort of serviceable in some way, because what can happen is the diaphragms can sort of just kind of get crispy over time or get perforated, and of course then that doesn't help at all. I'm looking for a little bit, I can get a little bit of a leverage in there, but I think just a little tap might be enough. There we go. Oh, that's really interesting. So Paul, so obviously this is your gaff for one thing, so that's quite exciting in itself, because obviously we've got the main man on the job. So what we're just doing here is just basically trying to push out, get rid of the old pistons and put in the new ones, but obviously these are they kind of basically put in with heat effectively?
Right, yeah, they're heat shrunk on.
Right.
Right, so basically this is about up to 2 thou tighter than the pin.
Right.
So when the conrod expands, the pin
Doesn't let
grabs
go.
it.
Yeah,
so
okay.
you don't have a circlip. It's called an anchor fit rod.
Right.
Right. There's more to this than meets the eye. First of all, you've got to get the piston in the right direction of rotation, because if you don't, it's going to make the engine very noisy.
Okay.
So the pin is offset, if we can see that.
Yeah. Ever so slightly. I mean, it's not lots.
Yeah, and the conrod has a oil squirter to the first side of the engine, which lubricates this side, which is taking all the pressure.
That's mad. So
of
literally, so the
rotation.
oil's coming out of the crank, around the bearing, and then
squirting
going
up
up the
ball.
conrod. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's that as well.
So we've got to get that correct when we put it back together again, basically.
Yes. So we're going to press these off. Then we're going to check small end eye diameter to make sure it corresponds with the right interference fit for your pins.
Right.
So I've marked all the fronts of the conrod, so make it easy identification when we put it back together.
And do we have on, because on these pistons you've also got an arrow, haven't you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you have on here as well.
So I've marked the front of those, and I've marked these. So, and I've had a look at them to check that they are the same.
Yes. Okay.
Before we start that.
And so this points to the flywheel or to the pulley?
No, to the front pulley.
The front pulley.
Front
okay.
of the engine.
Good to know. That's on every engine ever, is it?
No. Renault's do them the other way around.
Of course they do.
Peugeot's do them the other way around.
Of course they do.
Everything goes to the back of the engine.
So everyone except for the French.
Majority of engines are like this.
Oh, cool.
So we're going to press them off and move on.
Yeah, brilliant.
So Ed, this is a special jig for holding the piston secure while we press it out.
Because this is under quite a lot of force, isn't it? I mean, in fact, we're going to be able to see that because we've got a dial on the top.
Yeah,
so.
we're running out just over 2 tons. So we're going to pump the...
So this is the sort of thing you don't really want to be trying at home because you want to get it really straight.
You can't hammer them out. You'll end up ruining the eye of the rod.
Yes.
If you do that. Yeah, it's important that you get this part out right. If you don't fit it right, you can gouge the inside of here.
Yes.
And if you don't take it out right, you can gouge the inside of that on the way out.
So it's quite critical, yeah.
It's quite a black art.
Yeah, and also the pin you're using, or the drift that you're using, is obviously exactly the right size as well.
It's a precision, hardness, right size, and everything really. The press isn't working as well as it should do today because it's the seal's gone in the oil.
Needs some more juice.
Needs some more juice in it. So anyway, we press the pin all the way through.
Okay.
Then we're going to take the pin out.
Yeah.
And we take this off the rod like that, and that will leave a rod and a piston like that.
Okay.
And you can make yourself a nice ashtray out of that.
I was thinking of taking up smoking. Well, I was thinking it stunts my growth, so I was a bit worried about what might end up happening. Well, I don't want to be any shorter.
No, that's a problem, isn't it? We're going to put our new pistons onto on our old rods now.
Yeah.
So the first thing we'll do, we're going to check the small end bush eye to see what we have.
Okay.
Because with this tool here, which is a teaser, we take a reading off of it, and that measures 859.
Okay.
Right. Then we're going to measure our pin.
Yep.
And that measures 861. So that is 2 fel bigger than that. So when that is heated up, that will shrink onto there.
Okay.
So our next step is that's all good.
Yep.
Next thing we do, we're going to lubricate this up.
Okay.
We're going to put a bit of a small amount of oil in each one of these.
Yep. So it's like machine oil or those?
Just an engine oil.
Engine oil, okay.
And we're going to make sure that these slide in and out correctly before we start, because sometimes they're out of line on cheap pistons.
Yeah.
So
So the next bit, because that's going to be hot when you then try and put those together. Right?
Yep, that's what we're going to do. You're going to put that on in your tongue and see how hot it is.
So we're now heating this up. So what kind of temperature are we hoping for? I mean,
probably about just under 200, somewhere like that.
Yeah. So
that's going to go like that, and that's going to go straight in there like that.
Awesome.
That's that one done. That will still move.
Right.
So and it's very, very hot now.
Yes.
So don't hold
lick it.
Don't hold it by that end.
No. Well,
because you'll burn your hand. Yeah.
That's interesting. So, I mean, so this is just easier to assemble in the factory? Is that why they do it, really? Or?
It's cheaper, production cost.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, because you've got a couple, yeah, of course.
There's 2 materials. The bush has to be hitch one in, then board.
Yes.
We can do all that, but
yeah, it's a lot more
most
work.
of the old engines are like that.
Okay.
check it. Just checking we got the pin in even.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We use a lot of expansion techniques in what we do, like fitting liners, heating blocks up.
Do you ever cool things down? So
No.
Because that's the other way around, I suppose, isn't it? So,
Cool them down too fast, they break.
right, okay.
But we've got an oven in there where you can get stuff really hot and you put all your liners in.
Yes.
So, and even everything.
Is it even?
Even.
Yeah.
It's very easy when it's even.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to localise heat to put different liners in, makes it a hard job.
Because that's always the problem. As soon as you start touching and handling it, of course, you're going to be taking the heat out. So, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Exactly, yeah. So if you're not experienced in doing this process, what happens, the pin goes halfway through, jams.
And then you're really stuffed.
You've got to scrap piston.
Wow.
And it costs you a lot of money.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And also, if you don't get it quite in the middle.
Some of the cheap American ones are very, the pin don't line up with the boss properly.
Right.
And sometimes I have to put them on machining correct them before I fit.
Oh my word, okay.
Yeah, that's not unusual.
Yeah. So thank you for that. That's great. So now, I mean, I'm really glad that I got you guys to do that because I think we would have we would have messed it up basically.
Yeah, you would have. Yeah.
So now then, so that's basically our engine is sorted. So thank you very much. So we basically
maybe the next thing is you got to gap your rings when you get back. If you've got a problem, bring them back and we'll gap them for you.
Wicked.
That's good.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll see you again with the V8.
Which one?
Well, actually, I was thinking about the Rover V8 in John's Range Rover, but we don't really know the full score of the situation with the V8 in our Ferrari. That could be a huge job for Paul and his team. And finding out whether they actually start is next on the list. But before we do that, let's get back to this vaporizer. And it is very interesting. So you can see there is a diaphragm in there. I mean, it looks kind of okay. It's still relatively flexible. It smells very much of gas and stuff like that, but it's as you'd expect. Now you can see that the rubber here is actually still quite flexible. It hasn't gone crispy. Doesn't look like there's any splits or holes in it, but you never could be sure. So it's probably better just to try and refurbish that with maybe a replacement part for that. Then also got a little valve in here of some sort, a little spring. Not quite sure exactly what that does, but it looks like it's all working, which is nice. But I can't see what's going on this side. I think let's just turn it around, have a little look inside, because now we're this far. Kind of interesting. And I think because this is quite an old forklift, it's obviously actually designed to be serviced perhaps more regularly or more easily, I think, than modern ones, in an effort to try and make them cheaper in the first place. They've actually removed some of these serviceable parts. And so what might be able to fix for, say, 100 quid nowadays might cost more like £600. And of course, then it gets gummed up, which is obviously what we're looking for here, then you might have to end up replacing or cleaning the whole thing, and the whole process could be a lot more expensive. And what's weird is that there wasn't any obvious sign of any gumming up on the other side of the diaphragm. I was kind of expecting that to be really goopy. There's a little bit of stuff there. Oh well. Oh, there's lots and lots of goop in here going on. I can't work out how it's attached, so I'll be very careful not to damage something here, because you've got that little bit there that's attached. Ooh. Okay, so what's very interesting is you can see there's tons of this kind of goopy stuff around the edges here, and you can see that diaphragm's a bit saggy, it's kind of falling down. Even when it's up the other way, you can see that it's kind of tending to want to go that way. And there's this contamination all over the place. It's quite gunky inside there, and in fact I kind of ignored it a bit earlier, but you can also see some of it just on a little bit of the diaphragm on this side. I think this could be what is on the back of our valves. And what's interesting is I did a little bit of research, and it turns out there is a little bit of tar in gas, just generally because it comes out of the ground along with everything else. Now it could be that depending on where you get your gas from, depends on how contaminated the gas is. I suspect it's quite expensive to try and kind of get rid of it, to clean it out before the gas is delivered. So if there's a particularly dirty bit of gas, then of course that's going to definitely cause extra deposits of this tar. But actually beyond that, it's also how you use a forklift. So if you were to turn the key in the morning, run it for 8 hours, rigging around, and then kind of turn it off at the end of the day, change the gas bottle or whatever, then of course then the engine's going to get hot enough to burn off all that tar. But the kind of use we're going to be doing with this will be literally 10 minutes just to kind of get something back into the workshop or lift something up onto a shelf or whatever. And of course that means that the engine doesn't get hot enough. And of course that can cause issues, because then of course that tar is going to build up. Well, this is really great. I think we've actually solved the mystery. So this tarry deposit here is what was on the back of the valves, and obviously I need to clean all this out. I need to get the vaporizer is in tip-top condition. I need to try and replace these parts that obviously will be serviceable parts. I think our forklift truck is actually young enough that you can still buy that. If not, I might still be able to get replacement units altogether. But either way, that is all going to be a job for another day. But also, we've now got our polished crank and we've got our new pistons on our old conrods, so that means the engine can be put together. So that's a job for another day, and then eventually once all that's done, we can pop it in here and see if we can do some heavy lifting.
Forklift.